Hello everyone, I'm Brian from Orchids by Brian, and today we're going to talk about Masdevallia care and culture. I'm going to talk about all of the helpful tips and tricks that I use to grow and flower these amazing plants. Now, this list is not exhaustive, and you might have tips and tricks that work well for you. I would encourage you to share those in the comments section below so we can all learn how to make these amazing plants thrive in our collection. So, with that, here is how to care for and grow Masdevallias. So let's talk about where are Masdevallias from. Masdevallias are native to the cool cloud forests of Central and South America. They thrive in temperatures between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, with even cooler nights down to 52 to 55 degrees. Masdevallia are notorious for leaf drop when they experience stress such as changing temperature or humidity conditions, over or under watering, and light changes. These orchids need a high humidity environment, something like 60 to 80%, and constant moisture. One special tip, avoid getting water on the leaves of Masdevallias to avoid leaf issues from bacteria or fungus. Light requirements of Masdevallias vary by species, but the general rule is growing in bright shade is ideal. Masdevallias will do better in shade if the grow space tends to get warmer. So if you're growing outside or you're growing it just in the home and your house gets hot, keep it in the shade. Keep the potting medium damp but never soggy, and use pure water. I cannot stress this enough. Rain, distilled, or reverse osmosis water is ideal. These orchids are highly susceptible to fungus and bacteria, so be mindful of overwatering. You might see brown blotches on the underside of the leaves, or black spots or pits on the leaves. That usually means you're overwatering, something is going wrong with the roots. I typically recommend repotting into fresh medium, cutting away those leaves that have blemishes, and limiting the amount of water. Fertilizing Masdevallia, though, is all about moderation. These orchids do best using a balanced orchid fertilizer at about 1/4 to 1/2 the recommended strength. So during active growth, fertilize about twice monthly with that balanced, say, 20-20-20 fertilizer, which works very well, especially if you're using sphagnum moss or most bark mediums. Speaking of potting medium, a well-aerated mix like sphagnum moss, fine bark, or tree fern fiber works best for these orchids. They also thrive mounted, especially if you have a terrarium or a grow tent like mine. When I repot these plants, I place the packing peanuts or thick bark at the base of the pot. Then I wrap the Masdevallia roots in sphagnum, because these roots like to stay cool and moist. And I place it in the center of the pot. Then I fill the outer edges with bark. And I try to repot every 12 to 24 months just to make sure the roots are healthy, keeping in mind that salt buildup from fertilizer or water that's not pure will definitely hurt the roots. So here's where we're going to talk about how we can help Masdevallias beat the indoor heat. And that is an essential key technique called double potting. Now, before I had my grow tent, I used double potting all the time. It was a lifesaver for my Masdevallia. So let's talk about how to double pot, and I'm going to do a demonstration of that right here. So first, select 2 clay pots. It's important that these are terracotta clay pots, one slightly larger than the other. The orchid goes into the smaller pot. Then you will fill in the gap between the 2 pots with moist sphagnum moss. So basically, the moist moss helps keep the root temperature low even when the room air is warmer, because the clay pots tend to be cooler anyway, and combine that with the water-logged moss on the outer pot helps to keep the plant very moist. So just make sure that there's no water logging happening at the bottom of your double potted pot. That could definitely hurt your roots. You never want your Masdevallias in stagnant or still water. So before we conclude, here are some key care tips to share with you about Masdevallias. Number one, avoid hot spots. Shade the orchid during hot spells to reduce leaf temperature. Occasionally shower the plant to prevent spider mites and keep the foliage clean. Don't be afraid to use safer insecticide spray, which is what I prefer, or Phizan 20 to prevent pests, fungus, or bacteria. Never, ever, ever let the roots stand in water. Adjust watering if you see that your leaf tips are turning yellow or you have those black rotting spots that appear on the leaves. It means something is wrong. I tend to reduce watering and see if it doesn't spread or if it improves. So with careful attention to temperature, humidity, and moisture, by using this double potting method as a cooling hack, anyone can enjoy these mesmerizing blooms of Masdevallia orchids, even indoors. If you found these tips helpful, please like and subscribe for more orchid care guides. I'm going to have a ton more videos coming out like this in the near future. As always, keep in mind, these are my tips that work for me and my orchid collection. They might not work perfectly all the time for you. It does always depend on your conditions and your grow space. And if you have other tips and tricks for growing Masdevallia orchids, share them in the comment section below. I would love to read those and check them out. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Happy growing for your Masdevallias. I'm Brian from Orchids by Brian, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.